Hockey Inside Out, presented to you by The Gazette.
Welcome to the Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Montreal Gazette sports editor Stu Cowan with Chris Knuckles-Nyland, Jack Todd, and Jessica Rusnak, who's been covering the Canadiens for the past 6 years for TSN Radio. Chris, last night, hat trick for Alex Galchenyuk. Is that the night a star was born when we look back on this kid's career?
I don't know so much about a star was born. It's a small sample size of 3 games. And I may be being a little picky here, but Vancouver, 7th game in 12 days. He had a great game. LA, non-existent. Last night, 29th team in the league. It's awesome what he did, but he has a long way to go. Playing against big, tough, strong teams, big, tough, strong centermen, he got his work cut out. But listen, he's on his way. He's getting a taste of it, and that's what he needs. I don't know how long the coach will go with it when Ella comes back, only because, again, if you start losing games, he starts letting goals in when he's out there. He's not playing well on his own end. The coach, what's he have to do? He has to win games. Mm-hmm. And you could see him back on the wing. But he certainly is an exciting player.
He's still only 20 years old.
Oh, I know. I kind of got a chills a bit when he had such a good game the night that they had the ceremony for Belleville. Because you kind of had the feeling he's as close to being... there will never be a next Belleville, but as close to being the legitimate heir as we've seen since maybe Jacques Lemaire. And to see a guy the way he's played, it's just so exciting. Jack Dempsey said the best defense is a good offense. Yeah. And if he's causing that many problems for the other team, his defensive deficiencies, he'll at least have a little more time to work on them.
Yeah. Now that smile on his face after the third goal, Jessica, you're around him on a daily basis. What's he like as a kid to deal with?
He's a little bit more reserved, and I think it's maybe because the Montreal Canadiens have told him what it's like to deal with the Montreal media, and if you might say something, it might be misinterpreted, and so he's a little bit more guarded that way. But I find it more interesting to see his interactions with other teammates. He's always joking around with Brendan Gallagher. If we're interviewing Gallagher, he's throwing a piece of tape over there. Same thing with Yuri Sekach as well. And I think he's just really enjoying himself at the moment. It's interesting what you mentioned about the way he plays defense. We asked him about going up against top lines, and he said, I don't really pay too much attention to who I'm going up against. I focus on myself, and the more time you spend in the offensive zone, the less likely the other team is to score on you. Mm-hmm. So I think right now he just feels very confident about himself, and it's a great step in the right direction. And the Alex Galchenyuk everyone envisioned him to become when they drafted him in 2012.
He's probably even ahead of schedule. I received a tweet after the game last night from Susan Hayward, who I think knows you two guys. She went, "Long live Shane Corson. His sweater has finally come to life."
Oh yeah, it has. I forgot about that. 27.
Sorry, Shane, wherever you are.
Now, we have Pat Chiaretti now with Galchenyuk Gallagher, the number one line. Is this a legitimate NHL number one line, something the Habs have been missing?
Yeah, it is. And they complement each other well. Max, 3 great passes last night.
That's right, he's not just shooting.
Yeah, it's like, I just hope he don't get stuck in the pass mode, He's got to shoot the puck too, but he had a great game. And, I look at Deane going down to that other line. It's brought him to life. Life isn't over because you get changed off a line, you would think, because these two are so close, right? But David Deane, he's a professional athlete. You got to get your head up and go again, and that's what he's done. I'm not really surprised, but pleasantly surprised that David Deane has really stepped up his game since being demoted from that line.
Mm-hmm. In the room, Jessica, what's David been like since? So I guess the demotion is he.
Well, it was funny when we first asked him about it. He made a joke. He said it's like, you break up with someone, you never know if you'll find a new line mate, and it was really good because he's making light of it, because I don't think it was such a big deal to them that a lot of people thought, oh, Max Pacioretty said to Michel Therrien, I can't play without him. David Desharnais cannot play without him, and they were a group that could never be taken away. But I think they both enjoyed playing with each other, but them being taken away was never something that they feared. And as we can see, that they're having success. And I don't think that David Desharnais was really fit for that role. I think it's probably better for him to have less pressure, and he can help the team in different ways. As we saw, in last night's game, that line with Press and Parento was working very well.
And Desharnais said he's away from the other team's number one checking line.
Oh yeah, it's got to help him a lot. I've been really impressed with the way he's reacted, actually. A sweet pass last night. everything he's doing on the ice. He could have sulked, but he didn't. And Max could have sulked because he's done it before. But I think he's shown a lot of maturity this year, Pacioretty, in the way he's handled this kind of thing and kept going. And I didn't even think he should be an assistant captain. Now I'm hearing people say he should be a captain, and I can't really disagree with it. He's shown a lot this year.
I'll tell you one thing: if they voted the team, okay, I think they'd vote Pacioretty.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised too, just the way he's been dealing with the media as well. He's got a different attitude. I think he wants to be the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, and getting that A on the jersey has given him that boost, and he feels like this is my time now to show that I can do this. And a lot of the young guys like Gallagher and Galchenyuk have talked about Pacioretty going out of his way to talk to them, give them tips, not even just on the game, but off the ice as well. And that's what people want in the next captain.
We forget too, here's a guy, Pacioretty, who asked to go down because he wanted to play. And, it says a lot about him right there. And then working his way back up here and is trying to establish himself, and then just coming back from the injuries. He has made great strides in the maturity department. I'm proud of the kid. I love Max. I went to dinner with him the other night, and we had good talk. He's just a great kid. He's a great kid.
The other move Terry made the other night is he put Brandon Pruss with Desharnais. I mean, I've said this before. Pruss reminds me of you when he played, and he can play with anybody. And I'm wondering if that is maybe even better for Desharnais as a partner. Maybe make him a little bigger.
Desharnais is about a half a foot taller with Pruss out there. It really makes a difference. He can. Exactly. He can protect anybody. He enhances every line. He's got enough offense going to cause some problems for the other team.
And Pruss got to work on those empty net goals.
Now, he's a small guy, and Pruss is going to look after him. Was there a small guy you remember as a teammate that you really enjoyed taking care of or protecting?
Matt's Naslund, but I wasn't on the ice with him all the time, but if something happened, I'd surely be there for him, and I was at times. But Matt's was a tough little guy, people think tough is always like fighting and hitting, but tough's going the net, going into the corners first for the puck like Matt's did. He used to have welts all over his arms after games, Matt's Naslund, because he was so fast. And his speed, he'd go by defenseman and boom. That was back when
Get the
you could slash what you could not catch in the NHL.
We'll be back after a short break, and we'll talk about another small, tough player, Saku Koivu, who's going to be honored at the Bell Center this week. Welcome back to the Hockey Inside Out Show. The Canadiens are going to honor former captain Saku Koivu before Thursday night's game at the Bell Center. Jack, do you have a favorite or memorable Saku Koivu story?
Yeah, it's a little different than our image of Saku as the reserved Finn, because actually I always found him in private to be a very funny guy and very talkative, a dry sense of wit, and he usually got the best of people. But in this case, he didn't. He was talking to Peter Popovic in the room about a week before the Nagano Olympics. And they're ragging on each other. Popovic, of course, was from Sweden and Finland. They hate each other. And finally, Saku says to Peter, what do you care? You're only half a Swede, because, Popovic's got a Serbian father. And Popovic looks down at him and says, yeah, and you're only half a Finn. So I'm sitting there laughing my what off. I get to Nagano, and we're all in the mix zone after Finland beats Sweden. And Saku goes walking by. He didn't even stop. He just looks at me and says, Jack, say hello to Peter Popovic.
You were telling me a story about Saku lining up for a face-off with the Zdeno Chara.
Yeah, I knew how big Chara was, but not until I saw him right next to Koivu. And they had one of them special nights at the Bell, 5 Bruins, 5 Canadians, and I'm standing there, and Koivu was coming up, and he was like doing the dance, getting ready for the face-off, real nervous, And I looked at him, he was looking at me, and I said, hey, you want me to get him for you? He said, yeah. But, the size difference, it was just incredible to see little Saku Koivu standing there going to take a face-off with Chara. It was like incredible, the size of Chara. He just looked like a monster out there.
It's like Brendan Gallagher in front of the net now. Now, Jessica, for a younger generation of Canadians, people you grew up in Montreal, what did Saku mean to you?
Saku was the Montreal Canadiens for, I think, my generation. Everyone wanted to be him. Everyone wanted number 11. I guess nowadays people are thinking Brendan Gallagher, but for my generation, it was Saku Koivu. And I think, in a way, he was sort of like a Jean Beliveau, that he was someone that transitioned off the ice as well for all the stuff that he's done with the community, that if you weren't a huge Canadiens fan, you knew who he was because what he did. And, you know, I just even think my cousin named his dog Saku because that's how much he loved him. And I think that's how I always sort of remember him, that for me, that is the captain. Saku Koivu, I know a lot of people would like to see his jersey retired. I don't know if that will really happen, but an idea we brought up on the TSN 690 postgame show was that ring of honor that they have going around the Bell Center. I'm sure they could find a spot to put Saku Koivu's name. I think he needs to be recognized in some way at the Bell Center.
That's a good idea. Another small player who's up now is Sven Anderghetto, 5'9", 183. Thoughts on him, Jack, so far?
He's a handful. You know, for a guy having a debut, it's the best in like 25, 30 years for the Canadiens.
Yeah, Pierre Mondeau was the last.
Another small guy, not that small. I think they're going to have some real problems here. One thing with the Canadiens, which we rarely mention, they've been extraordinarily healthy this year. Like, that's a really healthy team, and it creates a lot of problems. When Eller comes back, what do? I don't like to see Eller on the wing, but they're really strong up the middle right now, and I would like to see Anderghetto stay. I really like his game.
Your thoughts on him, Chris?
You know, a good little player can be useful in certain situations. You know, when you play a trap game and you look at some of the points he got, they come off of turnovers in the transition game. When you get into that ugly, nasty playoff hockey, it's another small guy. That's what hurts him. But certainly, when you bring up a guy and you get some points from him, it's always nice. You know, I think Canadians used to calling guys up like Mike Blunden and, you know, Drayson Bowen was here. They don't put much as far as points on the board, and they don't get much of a shot. This kid's gotten a shot. He's been on the power play already. That's a miracle.
Now, one player who's starting to get criticized a little bit on the HIO site is Manny Malatra, who doesn't have a goal yet. He's got 1 assist. What do you say to the naysayers?
Well, you know, if you're looking at his point total on the season and that's all you're looking at, fine. But I think, you know, you could make a case for him for the MVP of the team. He's changed the whole dynamic. You know, I saw several times last night, defensive zone face-off. He's out there, he wins it, he's off the ice. That's so critical. It's filled up Plekanec. It's part of this whole change at center ice, with Galchenyuk moving up. I love the guy.
Well, you see him in the defensive zone. He takes the face-off. It's like a race to the bench to get the other centerman on. You deal with him all the time. He seems like a really smart guy. His answers are always thoughtful. What are your...
He is, and both his parents have doctorates from the Université de Laval. And in the OHL one year, he won the Scholastic Player of the Year. And I asked him, having two parents who were very well educated, was that always a priority? He said, absolutely. One of the things he always remembers, he was playing hockey and he didn't do his homework. His mother drove to the rink, called him off the ice, and he had to go home and finish his homework before he could go and play hockey. And he said that was always, I learned my lesson from then, and I always had it done. And he's just someone that thinks a lot more too, as you mentioned, that he doesn't really say too many cliche answers, that when you talk to him, he actually, you know, thinks about what you're asking him and how to answer it. And I know a lot of people are saying he doesn't have many points, he's only got 1, but he's someone that you measure with face-offs.
62%.
Yeah.
Winning.
You know, not just him though, the whole team. He's worked with all the centers on this team, and if you look, all the centers are up this year as far as face-off wins, and that's huge. That's puck possession right there. So he's, you know, who cares about the points? Like, you know, do you have to have 4 lines that can score?
Yeah.
It'd be nice, but it just doesn't happen in the NHL.
He could have a career after his playing career just teaching face-offs, as you say. I'm sure he makes
face-off coach.
He makes it look easy. It's almost like a pass back to their defenseman. Now, this homestand, 5 games, 12 days at home, Chris. As a player, would you have liked that, or is that too long to be sitting?
No, it's great at home. You kidding me? A couple of days off here and there, head down to Shapery, maybe wander bar and relax a little, you know? You know, blow off a little steam. You don't just always go out on the road. Yeah, the homestand's great. It's great to be home, and, you know, I'm sure near the end of this, guys will be like, oh, I can't wait to get back on the road. And, you know, but hopefully they take advantage of it.
Now, the other thing in the NHL, the big story is this mumps thing going around, and you wonder, maybe I could be doctor of the Pittsburgh Penguins if they didn't think
so.
that Sidney Crosby had mumps,
you know,
when his
the guy
face
looks
was
like
up to
somebody's taking a baseball bat to one side of his face. I said they're waiting for him to look like a chipmunk that swallowed the whole coconut, because you know, one half is like this and they're waiting for the other half. just didn't get it at all. When you've got a mumps epidemic going on in the league and you still can't figure it out with the league's #1 player, I don't get it.
It's not only players, Jessica, you
Yeah.
mentioned to me, you're going to be covering the World Juniors also, and you're thinking of getting a mump shot yourself, right?
Exactly, and I think the scary part is that every single day there seems to be a new player who's being diagnosed, and Brian Allen, the Montreal Canadiens, could not say if he did or did not have it because he got the vaccine. So anytime he got his blood work back, it would have showed that he had the mumps in there. So that's another concerning factor, that you don't know that this player that you interact with might have had it. And as you said, the World Juniors, I can't sacrifice Team Canada getting sick.
He has to have the mumps. You don't stay out this long
Yeah.
with the flu. And if you do, you're a big wimp. So he got to have the mumps.
That's it for this week's episode of Hockey Inside Out. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll be back next week with a special show where we'll come up with some Christmas gifts for members of the Canadiens. We'll see you then.